All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of What in the World. And for those of you that are tuning in tonight and you're upset, you're thinking you were going to be checking out Bryson Ware's story, I do apologize for that. We were supposed to get him in for tonight. Life happened, and I'm behind schedule. We're going to actually have him on next Monday night. But tonight we have a real treat. There's a huge event going on for the paranormal world in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And we're fortunate enough to have one of the event creators. And then, of course, they deal exclusively in the paranormal realm, especially in the Vicksburg area. His name is Brian Riley. So as soon as we get back from the obligatory like, share, and subscribe prompt, we're going to jump right in it with Brian. All right, let's get into it. Brian, how you doing this evening, brother?
Doing good. How are you?
Brian and I stumbled across each other on social media. I reached out to him, just a blind grab, actually. Didn't expect to even hear back from him because I know how busy he is. There's a preparation process going on for a big event they got going on in Vicksburg this week. And I didn't figure I'd hear back from him. And within 48 hours, he jumped back on Messenger and we chatted for a few minutes. And the next thing you know, he and I are sitting here looking at each other. And we're going to talk about something, especially, and I don't know what it is. I guess it's the month of October. The paranormal world becomes center stage, especially in the month of October with the Halloween festivities that go on. We were talking before we got started recording about some stuff we want to talk about. We're going to feature 2 or 3 user questions that I just randomly pulled off some of our social media about paranormal related activities. A couple of them are actually some stuff I didn't get to cover with a couple of other guests we had previously, John Bullard and Kendall and Vera Welpton. And since Brian is also an expert in this field, I figured I'd hit him with it, see what his answer is. Now, I can't speak for Brian, but when I usually say something, I qualify it with in my own opinion, because I don't have a doctor. I don't have a doctor in front of my name or a master's degree behind my name. So I don't usually speak on a lot of stuff unless I qualify it that way. So listen, if you hear something that we're talking about today and you go, that's absolute crap, that's your opinion. That's what me and Brian were talking about. If you saw something or didn't see something, fantastic. We're excited for you. I didn't see it. He didn't see it. So we'll move on from there. So Brian, before we jump into all that we're going to talk about tonight, for those that are kind of on the fringe of the paranormal phenomenon, let's talk a little bit about your group. You're the founder of a group in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Tell us a little bit about that, kind of how it got started, all that kind of stuff. Members, because, I know there's a group of you guys, but, I only have you here tonight. So make sure you give a little shine to your members also.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm the founder of Mississippi Paranormal Society. We're based out of Vicksburg. Started back in 1995. Growing up, I always enjoyed reading about the paranormal and everything. And I had met some guys in Vicksburg, some good old boys, we'll call them. And they liked going out and doing ghost hunting. So they invited me along. Turns out it was mostly a bunch of guys really in the backwoods, old cemeteries, drinking a lot of beer. There was more beer drinking than investigating.
But shoot, I guess I must have gone on some ghost investigations back in my younger years also then.
Yeah. I guess they use the ghost hunting as an excuse, to get out for the night and everything. But nothing was really happening with that. That led into a case that me and some friends decided to take on. And we wanted to help this family out. So that's where the birth of Mississippi Paranormal Society came from. And these are 3 very good friends of mine. Grew up with them and everything. Over the years, we concentrated more on private residences. That was really where we just loved helping people. Having whatever kind of issues that they were coming into contact with. didn't really get into a lot of historic stuff at that time, but around 2010, they had left the group. I started bringing in a few new team members, and we started hitting some really cool historic haunted places like McRaven Tour Home, Cedar Grove Mansion, Mount Helena, which is up around Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Places in Natchez like King's Tavern, Magnolia Hall, Eola Hotel. So, yeah, members come and go. And right now I have 3 members along with me. Kevin and Kelly Pryor, who they're a married couple. They've been on the team for a little over a year now. Great people, just great people. Very skeptical at times, like me. They don't jump to conclusions about stuff. They came into this, being new to the paranormal, but they acted like they've been doing it for a long time. That's just the mentality that they had. And then my other member, Joshua Alberts, he's been on the team for about 12 years now. And he came with about 3 years prior experience with another team. And he's like a little brother to me. So we're all like basically a family. So we love helping people in their homes and businesses. We love doing the historic places. We love putting on events like the ghost hunting events, which we have a few coming up. And then, I don't know, we like educating people. I do a lot of talks at schools, libraries, wherever. So I don't know, we just like to have fun with it.
You named off no less than a dozen places in just a short period of time that you've actually done investigations at in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
So I don't want this to sound corny, but on the hauntometer, where does Mississippi rank on the hauntometer?
Ooh.
Like if a 10 was like the most haunted place on the planet, where would Mississippi fall in that?
I would say at least maybe a 5.
Okay.
Maybe
now,
6.
Something I got
like, between 5 and 6.
I want to pop a quick viewer question in here.
All right.
I jotted this down and took a snapshot of it so we can get it right. This is either Benny or Henny. Could be Benny. Okay. 6247. I guess that's a YouTube handle. He or she, I think it's Benny. So let's say he. He's asking on. Yeah. Okay. What do you think the 3 major factors for paranormal activity in the state of Mississippi are? That's a good question, Benny.
Yeah, really good question. In my experience, a lot of times when places are haunted, and you take like Vicksburg, for example, which I would regard as, well, Vicksburg and Natchez runs neck and neck. But for Vicksburg itself, we had a 47-day siege here in 1863 during the Civil War. That's a lot of death. I think, somebody dying in a horrific way. All kinds of, sicknesses like yellow fever. We had several epidemics of that in the state. Murders, it's really there's not a real clear cut answer for that. What makes a place haunted? Attachment. Somebody's attached to a place. Somebody dies at a place and they're just stuck there. They don't necessarily know that they may be dead, or they just can't. Thanks.
Disadvantage of doing an interview outside when when they're street racing on your street.
Yeah, really. That dude always does that.
I understand.
But you know, I don't know. A lot of times it's just there's so many attachments like to a house or a property. You know, they just don't want to move on. That's what I have found in most of our investigations. They just love that place so much they just don't want to move on. And sometimes they just don't want to move. You know, they don't know they're dead. And, you know, having to try to talk to a spirit like that is very hard to do, because it's like, you realize you're not alive anymore. But yeah, I hope I answered that question.
That's pretty good. I mean, most every piece of media that's ever been put out dealing with paranormal, massive amounts of death in certain areas tend to drive a lot of activity. So I could see, because I mean, Mississippi during the Civil War era was just, I mean, it was littered. The ground was covered in blood. I heard a historian one time say that at one given point in like 1864, I think it was, he pulled a random year, that something like 35% of every inch of soil in Mississippi was covered with someone's blood. That's crazy.
No, I can believe that.
It's not a small state, so
yeah. And I mean, Vicksburg, prime example. There was a lot of fighting down around Ellisville. They had a lot of renegade Confederate.
Well, don't know what happened to my guy here. Maybe he'll jump back on in just a second. Yeah, Benny, we appreciate that question. The most insane thing that I've noticed about it is everything. That's a common theme, though.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. We got him back on. That's the disadvantages of working outside in Vicksburg. A squirrel probably bit through his wire or something. So
yeah, and I'm right by the router inside too. So
okay, so there you go. Well, you didn't miss anything. I was just filling in till you got back. I told him you had to take a quick break. So all right, so we got another question here.
Okay.
This looks like Jenny. This must be our Facebook Facebook page got a question here from Jenny, Jenni. I don't know where she's from. She could be from Mississippi. It didn't say.
Okay.
She's wanting to know. Oh, I probably should have screened these questions before I started asking, because this might not be something you're going to talk about. Were you part of the group who found a body during an investigation?
No, I know what you're talking about.
Holy cow. I was not expecting that.
No. Several years ago, about 5 years now, maybe. This elderly lady her home was broken into by these guys. They beat her, raped her, abducted her, and there's an old hospital here in Vicksburg called King Hospital.
That's
been torn down.
Hotspot.
Yeah, it's been torn down in recent years, last year or two. But they dumped her body there after they murdered her. A paranormal team was up there doing some stuff, and they found her body and alerted law enforcement, which it could have been days.
My investigating days weren't over at that point.
Yeah.
Good Lord, man.
Yeah, they were kind of thrill seekers, but I'm glad they were there in a way. I mean, they found her. I mean, if they weren't there,
I'm glad
her
to
body
see
could have stayed there 2 or 3 days.
Can you imagine stumbling up on that? That would
I would have been horrified. I would have been horrified.
All right, so let's piggyback off that question then. I want to thank her for that question. That was one of the wildest questions I've ever got a chance to ask a guest. Piggyback question. I don't have a name on this one. It's just a question. It's asking, what is real world or paranormal the wildest thing you've ever encountered during an investigation? So we know it's not a body because you've already disqualified that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. The wildest thing. 30 years I've seen it a lot. Wow. That
I'm just glad the answer was not you found a body. That would have
I would have rather found a body than gone into this private residence that we did. And I usually don't speak about private residence cases, but there are some I will give just a little bit, like I won't tell where or the people's names. But it happened in Mississippi. I'll say that much. Those two houses that were next to each other. The mom had contacted the team and I and wanted us to come in and investigate her house and her son's house, which was next door. And they had really, we were very intrigued. Shadow figures, knocks, walking, footstep sounds, disembodied voices. Her son's children were scared. Now, children right there, we're like, we're going to be there. We walked in and the house was a total wreck. And can we cuss on this?
Can you?
Yeah.
Here, I'm qualifying. He's about to say a curse word in context of the conversation that went on during this investigation.
Yeah. We're looking around and I'll use a more innocent word. There was just dog crap all over the house. And they had these big dogs and they had let them out and they came back and they were just covered in blood. Apparently they got into a fight with some other dogs and they were just bleeding all over the house. And after talking to the son, once he came back before we went over to the mom's house, this dude had just a lot of negativity about him. And you can just feel the negativity of how he just lived his life. Everybody, the four-wheeler, everybody's wanting to ride around now.
Well, they see
you
outside. Out on the porch. Well, it's not every day they see a celebrity out on the front porch like this.
Oh, I'm far from a celebrity. I'm a celebrity in my mind.
I got you.
But one thing that happened during that investigation at the son's house, I can't remember what it's called exactly, but Josh, who's on my team, he was standing in the doorway in the back of the house and something rushed him. And later on, he said it just felt evil. Like, something just went right through him. And at first, it was like his mind was just like a computer just shutting down and restarting because diabolical confusion, that's what it's called. It's like I would say, okay, what happened? And he would start going through the steps. We're investigating. Me and Sally were investigating in this back room. I stepped to the doorway. Sally said something about it just doesn't feel right in here. And next thing I know, I'm being pushed back by some kind of energy. And it felt like it went through me. And it was just horrible, negative. And right as soon as I would start asking another question to him, he just got this blank look on his face. And I was like, what's going on? And he would start repeating everything he just told me. And it happened like 4 times. And it was like his brain was shutting down and restarting. And that was wild to me.
What is that? What is that called again?
Diabolical confusion.
Diabolical confusion.
Yeah.
I've never, and I've had conversations with some paranormal folks in the past. I've never heard that term before. Never heard that
Yeah.
example given before either.
Yeah, and I've never heard of it until I had that happened at another investigation years and years ago. That I was a guest investigator for.
Mm-hmm.
It happened to I can't remember exactly what happened, but that term was used for it. So that's the only reason why I remembered it. But what happened to Josh, that fit every detail of it because it's like, something just messed with him so bad that he just started, like I said, it's like his brain was a computer, would shut down and restart, and he would start all over talking about what he just said 20 seconds before.
Does he have like any memory of this incident? Like he remembers all the details of
He
it
remembers that after a while it started coming back to him. The more time went on, is like, okay, I'm starting to remember little things about it. And
but
I
he
was like,
couldn't explain
okay.
why he was
Yeah,
repeating
in
himself.
that moment, within like 2 minutes after it happened, it was like I said, it was like his brain was a computer shutting down and restarting. He would start the conversation all over again. And it happened about 4 times. And I was like, you need to go outside,
That
sit
is
down.
absolutely crazy.
It is. And I'm like, I hope I never see that again.
And I'm assuming that's a one-off. You've never had run into that again, or you said
Not
something
since
about
then. It
oh,
happened years ago whenever I was helping
okay,
another team out, but they handled that with their team member.
right?
I wasn't going to get in the middle of their stuff. So I was kind of like,
You were a little
okay.
freaked out at that point anyway, so you probably
Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And then whenever it happened to Josh, I mean, Josh is like a little brother to me.
right.
And I was like genuinely concerned because, okay, he's like my little brother. He's a team member. He's got a daughter. That's one of the first and foremost things that came to my mind. Like, I told the other team members that were there, we need to watch him for the rest of the night until, we get back to Vicksburg. I'm going to be worried about him. And I was probably worried for, a few days, constantly checking on him. But he was fine. And it's something that he'll talk about, but it's not one of his favorite things to talk about.
Right. What about I got a personal question. What about injuries? Like any of you guys ever been, I mean, I don't want to say seriously injured, but have you guys ever been injured that wasn't your own fault? Like, I understand you do a lot of this stuff in minimal to no light. I mean, I understand twisting an ankle or something like that, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Any type of here's a word for you: provoked. Have you had any provoked injuries?
Yeah. And back in the day, whenever it was me and the 3 original members, we were provoked. And, people like, oh no, you shouldn't do that. Well, some locations that we went into, you just go in and just start asking questions in a very calm manner. You might not get anything. I'll give you a place that's not in Mississippi, but one place that comes to mind like that is the Villisca Axe Murder House. You go in there with a very calm demeanor, asking questions, you're not going to get a lot of feedback. I've been a part of cases and I've been to Villisca. You have to be a little bit more aggressive in your questioning in order to get some kind of reaction. And in doing that, and everybody on my team back then and now knows, if you step up to that line of provoking, you can be firm, but if you go over past being firm, just know that there may be consequences for you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, see,
I've called names and I've been, scratched hit, push
Right.
down, you know.
Well, I know stuff like that kind of came to light. Well, for example, one of the OGs of the paranormal investigation stuff, the show Ghost Hunters, that was featured on television for years. Well, as a matter of
Hmm.
fact, it's still somewhere in syndication right now.
Yeah,
That was all this terminology that we're using right now became part of the lexicon because of that show. And then, of
yeah,
course, you know, like you said, ghost hunting trips used to be good old boys going out in the woods, drinking beer and
yeah,
looking for ghosts. And
yeah,
then
with a
these
cassette
guys,
recorder.
well, see, these guys took a whole different angle. I mean, they introduced equipment
Yeah.
people had never heard or seen before, and then
Hmm.
they actually showed, I don't want to say so-called evidence. They showed what they thought was evidence of paranormal,
Yeah.
and there was physical. Like I know a couple of the females that they had that worked with them. One of them, I can't remember her name, brownish red hair. Anyway, she had a humongous scratch on her back at one of the investigations they did.
Uh, wasn't Amy Brody?
Yeah, she was. No, this is the one I'm talking about. The one that used to. She was originally the one that lined up all their when they would go to different places. She was a
Oh,
younger girl.
okay, case
I know
manager.
the
Yeah,
Amy girl you're talking about. Yeah, it's
yeah, Amy's a wonderful person. This woman, I can't remember her name either, but I can see her face in
yeah.
my mind.
Well,
Um,
look, you're an OG in the paranormal world. I mean,
I try.
you've hung out with some pretty impressive paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
Um, who who on your list of paranormal investigators, if you got a call tomorrow from them and said, "Hey, we're going to investigate the tuberculosis hospital in Kentucky, or
Yeah.
we're going to go to what's that Waverly Sanitarium, where's that
Hmm.
in Indiana, Illinois, somewhere like that. We're going to go up there and we're going to do a 1 week long investigation. Just pack your bag, and we're sending you a plane ticket." And who would that investigator be? Like on your who would
Wow.
that be your wish list?
Oh,
Now it can be a group of people because like I said, like the ghost hunter group. I mean that's a
yeah.
group of people, but if you get just that
Oh
one, there's
man.
just that
It
one single
talking
investigator you want.
celebrities. Let's see, celebrity wise, can they be dead?
They can be deceased, yes.
Hans Holzer, the
Holy cow,
parapsychologist.
you went
Yeah.
way yeah.
I got into parapsychology because of reading his books.
Yeah. I
And
thought you were fit to hit me with somebody like Art Bell. I'm like, oh man.
no, no, I won't go that far back. But yeah, Hans Holzer. That guy was just nothing short of a genius in the paranormal field. Um, his whole way of looking at everything
Mhm.
and the research that he did on every case. And I think, I can't remember which book it was, but it was one of the first paranormal books that I ever read where I was like, wow, there's more out there.
Right.
And I credit him and his books with getting me really into the paranormal. Well, where when those guys asked me, hey, you want to go out and hang out in the cemetery with us? I was like, yes, I want to go ghost hunt.
Yeah.
I think
They
I'm the only
lied to
one
you.
that
They
ghost
didn't go
hunted.
ghost hunting. They went beer drinking.
Yeah, well, they had, what did they have? They had a compass, which was their EMF or magnetic
Right.
field detector.
Right. Because that
Um,
is supposed to affect the actual
right. It always
direction.
points true north.
Right.
So anytime the needle moves away from north without moving the compass itself,
Right.
what manipulated that?
Right.
And then had a set recorder. They
An
had,
old school one back then, if you're talking about
oh
that far
yeah,
back.
the long black one
Yeah.
where you put the cassette in and had to play and
Yeah,
rewind
you
and
had to
all
play
that on it.
record together. Yeah. I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. That was probably a Panasonic or a Casio because I think that's the only two that
Yeah.
made them back then. So
I think Panasonic.
that's crazy. That's way
Yeah.
better
So
than that. Yeah.
that's what they used. And whenever I formed MPS, we had a compass, we had a cassette recorder, a 35 millimeter camera, um, dowsing rods, pendulums. And then once the TV shows started coming out, more equipment was being introduced, which I already knew what a Gauss meter was, because by that time I had gotten a Gauss meter. And of course, it's not like the little Gauss Master that they sell in like Ghost Hunter Store, ghost.com. This was a big chunky thing, almost like a tri-field meter. And it was analog. But once the other equipment for the TV shows, K2 meter, millimeter, Ovilus, Spirit Box, those came out. You know, I always liked experimenting with them. You know, like I told you earlier, I'm a skeptical believer. And whenever we get a new piece of equipment, you know, and I kind of wonder what Hans Holzer would think of this equipment. You know, would he like it? Would he be able to debunk things very quick? That's why I chose him, because he did things in a certain way. And a lot of his protocol is what we still use to this day. That's what Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, Kindred Spirits, Ghost Brothers. Yeah.
Ghost Brothers, I've watched. That's still pretty hilarious. The Ghost Brothers are.
Yeah, they are hilarious, and they're actually nice guys. You know, I don't know. It's yeah. So Hans Holzer, yeah. If I had to pick somebody alive, I'd say the two from Kindred Spirits, Amy Bruni and Adam Berry.
Okay, which are two old Ghost Hunters along.
Yeah, and
Ghost Hunters launched a few careers, didn't it?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that shows will start resurfacing, because with Discovery owning all the networks like Travel, they went through huge budget cuts. That's why the shows haven't been renewed. But I just saw something the other day where the show Holzer Files is probably going to be coming back with Shane Pittman, Cindy Kaza, and can't remember the other guy's name right off. Big bald-headed guy with a goatee. He had his own podcast for many, many years.
Okay.
I can't remember his name right off, but that's supposed to be coming back on some kind of streaming channel.
Right.
Or app or whatever it's called.
All right, before we jump into your event you got coming up, I got one last question for you here.
All right.
I don't remember. I jotted it down, but I don't remember who actually asked it. It's a good question, though.
Okay.
They were talking about the topic of attachments.
Okay.
Spiritual attachments. And the question was, have you, someone you've investigated with, or one of your team ever experienced spiritual attachment during or after an event? An investigation, not an event.
Like something following us home?
Yeah. Well, you know, I've heard the term attachment to where they investigate a place, they have this weird experience, and then they go home, and 2 or 3 days later, it's almost like somebody came home with them. So I think that's the premise of the question is what they were asking.
There have been times where I've left an investigation site, come home, and stuff happened around my house that never has happened. My house is not haunted. If there's ever paranormal activity there, it's probably my dad or my grandfather or grandmother popping in, say hey, then they leave.
Okay.
But otherwise, I have never really, there's only been a few times where I've had things happen in my house after I get home from an investigation. And I've always been on the fence about this, because if you go to an investigation and it's at a location where, you know, those spirits are attached to that place, why are they going to leave with you? You know, so I'm kind of on the fence about it. And also, you get home from an investigation, you're still opened up from, you know, all that communicating and investigating throughout the night with spirits. So if there's a spirit near your house, maybe it recognizes that energy that you're giving off, and it comes in, and starts doing things around the house.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I have never been able to prove that a ghost from a location has actually followed me home, but it's possible because it is energy and they can travel.
Well, like I told you before we started, I'm kind of in the closet. I'd like to be a believer. I really would, but it's just, it's too easy for me to explain away things.
Oh yeah.
To be a believer. And I don't know. The whole spiritual attachment thing, like the creepy doll that somebody finds in a thrift store and there's a spirit attached to it. And it comes out. I don't know. I mean, I think they've watched too many movies is what I think, but I'm not going to say.
I can see that.
That's why I always say that is in my opinion, or, that's how I feel about it. I don't want to, I'm not going to criticize anybody's belief in what they believe, because that's their belief. That's unique to them. But I don't, there's a lot of things about the whole paranormal world that I got a million questions. And the only way that I would ever even be open to the idea of this actually being actual activity, something would have to happen. I'll give you a quick prime example, and then we're going to jump in ScareCon.
Okay.
I told you that I'm friends with, I'm acquaintances with Kendall and Vera Wepton, who are pretty well known in the paranormal world now because of the productions that they put on. I was actually having a conversation with them. We were recording for an audio project that I had back a few years ago, and didn't hear a thing. Didn't hear a thing while we were talking. We were discussing. I made a comment about my skepticism about the spirit world or about paranormal activity. So when we get done with the conversation, I go home. I'm editing the video, got the headphones on. I'm in a room by myself, concentrating on what I'm trying to hear. And out of the blue, as soon as I make that statement, it sounds like something actually either falls off a table or slides across a tabletop.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of, I'm not going to lie, it kind of spooked me a little bit. Yeah. So what I do, the place I was recording at, I went back to that location. I walked every step of I doubled back on my journey to make sure I took every step that I'd taken going and coming. I investigated the entire area around me. I actually had them pull the CCTV video of me actually in the room to see if I could spot something on it. Nothing.
Wow.
So then I send that audio clip to Kendall because he wanted to hear it. And Kendall checks it out, and he's got all this high-tech audio equipment, all that. He's running filters on it and all that kind of stuff. He can't come up with an answer. So at this point, it really freaked me out at this point. So I'm like, it happened, but I still wasn't, it didn't convince me, I guess is being right. I won't ever have to worry about going in a place and like having my hair pulled, because as you can tell, I don't have any. I'm really long enough to be pulled. The scratching stuff. I mean, shoot, I could be walking through the woods and a little tree limb scratch my neck and I feel it. And I think, oh my God, it's a ghost, but it's not. It's a tree limb that caught me as I walked through the woods, because like I said, a lot of the investigation time that you guys have, it's in either the dark or it's in poorly lit areas. And your eyes are constantly trying to adjust to the darkness and the light differential. I mean, I like I said, I'm not trying to pour water on anybody's fire, but I'm just telling you, there's a lot of reasons to be skeptical. But for those of you that are skeptics, or for those of you that are true diehard believers, let's talk about ScareCon Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Yep, ScareCon.
First of all, let me say something real quick before you get started on ScareCon. Okay. All that stuff he was just talking about, all that equipment, all them K2 meters and all that stuff, and you're like, what in the heck's this dude talking about? I bet if you show up at ScareCon, you'll get a chance to see that stuff in action.
Oh yeah, definitely. ScareCon is going to be from October 24th through the 27th. We have guest investigators from A&E's Ghost Hunters, Brian Murray and Rochelle Stratton. They're coming, and also Elizabeth Saint, who was with Ghost of Shepherdstown. The cast of The House in Between are coming, and then my group will be there. Several other paranormal teams from around Mississippi and one from Tennessee, I think one from Louisiana. They're coming. It's going to be a fun weekend. You know, we have a lot of things going on. We have VIP ticket packages for $199. You get to, I'm looking at it right here. We have a tour of haunted mansions on the Vicksburg trolley that happens Friday afternoon. Thursday evening, there's going to be a meet and greet with the celebrities for the VIP ticket holders. That's going to be at Cedar Grove, the inn at Cedar Grove. There's going to be a couple of nights, Friday and Saturday nights. We're going to go to a couple of restaurants. It's going to be one of those you buy your own beer and food and drink and whatever, but you get to sit down and, you know, have dinner with them. Then the Tunnel of Terror, which is like a ghost, a haunted house kind of thing at the Southern Cultural Heritage Center. You get free tickets to that, or tickets are included to that in the VIP ticket package. And then you have McRaven and Cobb House, which are two very haunted locations. And Friday and Saturday night, we're going to be investigating those.
Okay. McRaven, of course, has been featured in so many documentaries and paranormal related. Yep. It's insane. Now those two locations are both in the Vicksburg area.
Right.
All right. So I got a quick question I forgot to ask you. So I got to ask before we get out of here. Your top 3 most haunted locations in the state of Mississippi.
Oh wow.
I mean, I know McRaven because it's
McRaven.
Make the top 3, but
yeah, McRaven is referred to as the most haunted historic home in Mississippi. It lives up to its name.
Okay.
Second, that's a good one. I would say Southern Cultural Heritage Center.
Okay.
That's here in Vicksburg. It's made up of the Cobb House, the Sisters of Mercy Convent, and the St. Xavier Francis School.
Okay.
And now it's run like I guess a community arts center. And my third would be the Eola Hotel in Natchez.
Okay.
So yeah, those are my 3.
One question we forgot to cover, and you can just a yes, no. You ain't got to give a reason for it. The reason Vicksburg and Natchez and all that stuff along the Mississippi River is so haunted is because there's a direct connection between paranormal activity and flowing water, large amounts of flowing water.
Yeah. It has been proven that whenever you have flowing water around locations that are haunted, there's heightened activity at times.
All right. That was a question that I was trying to get in, and I actually forgot it was actually on my list.
That's a good question. I like that. I don't
remember what user asked it, but thank you, because that's an amazing question.
Yeah,
I've heard
all of them are.
I've heard the flowing water concept on
literally
just about every paranormal related documentary or whatever I've ever listened to. I've heard that. So,
also train tracks. You know, train tracks are good.
That makes a lot of sense.
McRaven is right next to a train track.
Well, a lot of urban legend kind of spooky stories, you know, deal with train tracks or bridges, like Burning Bridge, the infamous Burning Bridge. And there's like 12 communities in Mississippi that claim they have a Burning Bridge ghost. And you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking. You've probably investigated half of those. So
I'm not big on a lot of outdoor investigations. It's just too much contamination.
Too contaminated. I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. Contamination.
With photos, video, and audio, you have too much contamination.
Right.
You know, too much traffic.
It's hard enough to control your environment to be able to record.
Yeah. I prefer indoor places.
We've tried to do an interview right here, and you've had a burnout, a street race.
Yeah.
You had what sounded like a 4-wheeler, an ATV or UTV or something.
Yeah, a 4-wheeler. That guy, he drives by a couple times.
That's the beauty of reality, though. You just got to.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, what's the dates again?
October 24th through the 27th.
You get a VIP packet for $199. I think you just said. What about if somebody just shows up on a single day? What do they?
If you want to investigate one location, either Friday or Saturday night, it's $109.
Okay.
But if they don't want to do all the VIP stuff, but they want to investigate both nights, it's $159.
Okay.
And they can go on eventbrite.com. Just type in ScareCon Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Yeah, I'll make
that
sure
page will come
link,
up.
Yeah, I'll make sure that link is in the description so they can just click on it and go straight to it. All right. So some of the names, some of the folks you were talking about were coming. Rachel Stratton, Brian
Stratton.
Murray.
Yep.
Now that's a husband-wife team. That's some.
They're actually best friends.
Okay, I tried.
They're just best friends.
I tried to make them husband-wife. I apologize to Miss Stratton Murray. I'm a big fan of Brian Murray's actually because Brian Murray, if my memory serves me right, is an ex-military guy.
Yeah.
He takes a very structured, skeptic look at everything. I love that about him. I tell you, another guy, we were talking about this question about if you could investigate with any one single investigator guy. The one guy that always stood out to me in all this that I've watched, a guy named Steve Gonsalves.
Yeah,
he was a former police officer. Dude took a very tactical and strategic look at everything he did.
He's good.
He never jumped on something and said that's a ghost or that's not a ghost. He thought everything out thoroughly. He used that police investigation type mentality, and I love that about him. That's why those two guys stand out to me. I see some guys that are some posers, and I see some guys that are sensationalists. And I see some folks that have made a lot of money on paranormal, which there was nothing there. And, they went to places that there was nothing there, but they sensationalized it to the point they made money on it. I'm glad to see you're not one of those guys. I
try not to be.
Well, I noticed your group is a nonprofit organization, so you're not getting rich doing this. You're doing it for the love of the investigation. So I appreciate that.
We're very passionate.
Like I said, I'm a skeptic, but I don't rain on anybody's parade. So, maybe one day I'm in Columbia, Mississippi. You're in Vicksburg, Mississippi, not that far apart. Maybe one day you and I can get together. You can take me on the investigation. You can prove me wrong. So,
yeah. Hey, sounds good. I love taking skeptics.
You know what? Everybody I talk to says that. Oh, yes, sounds good. We'll get together. I told you my whole saga about the Weltons. If I didn't like them so much, I'd be upset with them. So, anyway, it's a whole different story. All right.
You find yourself over this way, let me know.
I'll make sure the link is in. I forgot the rest of them we were going through. Rachel Stratton.
Rochelle Stratton.
Brian Murray. John Bullard. You said the house in between folks will be there. So that'd be John Bullard and Brad Cooney, right?
Right. And also
is the homeowner Miss Jackson going to be there too?
I don't know.
Alice. Her name was Alice Jackson.
Alice Jackson.
I never got a chance to interview Miss Alice. Miss Alice seemed like a real, genuine soul, though.
She is a sweetheart. She's a sweetheart. And I have my own history with the house in between.
Yeah, we wasn't going to get into all that. I
know all of them very well.
Yeah, we heard it. I think I read somewhere you were the second group that ever came in and did any investigations there.
Yeah, John Bullard, his team. I think his team were talking to Alice before my team came in to investigate. The only reason why we came in to investigate was a news station, Channel 16.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to do a story there for Halloween. And I think by technicality, my team investigated before John and his team did their actual investigation.
As long as they're cutting you a check for all that media stuff they produce from there, I'm just messing with you. John's a good dude.
I don't want all that. He is. And, they were talking to Alice So they were actually that first contact with her.
Right.
So yeah, they were that first.
All right,
So,
man.
yeah.
Well, it looks like night is descending on Vicksburg, and you know what the nighttime in
Yeah.
Vicksburg means? That means paranormal activity is fixing to intensify. So I won't keep you any longer,
All
guys.
right.
Listen to what I'm saying. ScareCon. If you're a skeptic, if you're a true believer in the paranormal, it doesn't matter. If
Come
you're
on out.
come on over to ScareCon. Find my man Brian Riley, and him and his team will take you on an adventure.
Yep, we will. We will have a lot of fun. It's going to be an exciting weekend.
Sounds good, brother. I appreciate you taking time tonight. Now, social media, I know you're on Facebook. Where else can they find you guys at?
Facebook, Mississippi Paranormal Society. On Instagram, you can look up Brian Riley. It'll have my picture on there. And that's really all the social medias that I use.
Okay. And guys, of course, if you got, like Ray Parker Jr. said, if you got ghosts, who you going to call? You're going to call the Mississippi Paranormal Society. That's who you're going to call. So
we will handle it.
They're real life Ghostbusters.
We try to be.
I probably just got sued for using Ghostbusters unlicensed. So, all right, brother. I appreciate it. And
I appreciate you.
We will see y'all next Monday. Don't forget, check out ScareCon this upcoming week, this Thursday. Y'all have a good evening. We'll see y'all next Monday.
Bye, everybody.